Assalamualaikum and hello, welcome to Google Malaysia. My name is Rahayu Ramli and I'm the Education Program Manager here in Google. While I work with primary and secondary schools to bring technology into the classrooms, here in Google Malaysia we do many different things. We have a large sales team that works on ads as well as digital marketing. We also have a Waze and a Street View team based here. Join me to find out a little bit more about Google. Coming out of school is always a challenge. Sometimes it's about building new experiences, getting more experience, and having the right skill sets to be able to join a place like Google. As I mentioned before, the skill sets that a lot of employers look at are not specifically related to skill, but may be related more to the soft skills that are associated with communication, teamwork, and collaboration. These are things you need to build up while in school so that you can bring those skills to any job within any industry because they're so relevant in the world that we live in today. Our mission at Google is centered around data and making information available to everyone, making it more useful and accessible. That's a really big challenge. There's a lot of information that we as human beings create on a daily basis, and it's our responsibility as a community to be able to use that information and share it responsibly as well as effectively. So one of our core values is to do no evil. And a lot of people have different interpretations of what that means, but essentially what it also means is being a responsible citizen, whether it's within a human environment or whether it's within an internet environment or an online environment. And that means being responsible when creating information, when disseminating information, and when sharing information to those around you. It also means that it's important for us, not just as an organization, but as a community, to be aware of how information affects other people and the community at large. So while everybody has a different way of utilizing the internet or different objectives when they use the internet, collectively, we as human beings and people who live together need to be very aware of how we use the internet and how we influence the way that information is spread and utilized online. We also work with other industries to improve those industries using the technology that we create. So one great example is something called Project Jacquard, which you can find out more about on YouTube, which is essentially about working with the fashion industry to be able to create wearables that people can actually use on a daily basis. So as an example, we've been working with some of the Savile Row tailors who have been incorporating these microfibers that are conductive and allow for technology to be able to communicate with parts of the outfit to be able to respond to certain commands. So as an example, a jacket that's created by a Savile Row tailor may have some microfibers attached to it that when they are tapped will actually answer the phone. We also work heavily with the medical industry, so we have something called Project Iris, which is a contact lens that allows for detection of glucose in tears, that allows for diabetics to diagnose their glucose levels without having to inject themselves, which is currently what's typically done with somebody who has diabetes. Google has always been a technology company. We started off as a search engine, so if you've ever tried to find something on the internet, you'd probably be using Google search. But since then, we've actually expanded to many different areas. If you are a Gmail account user, you're also using a Google product. Within Gmail itself, there are also other parts that extend to other apps, such as Google Drive, which you may use both on your computer and your mobile device. And that also includes other productivity apps, such as Slides, Sheets, Docs, as well as Form. If you're familiar with any of these, then you'll be very familiar with a lot of our productivity apps that are available online for free for personal use. We also do maps, so if you've ever used Google Maps before to get from one place to another, that is something that we've developed over time. And using the same kind of technology, we also have acquired Waze, which is another mapping and street technology that allows you to get from one place to another in the most efficient way possible. Many other products that you might recognize include Street View, which you may also use to explore other areas of the world. So we've also expanded to other types of technology. In the last couple of years, we've ventured into virtual reality, or VR, as well as augmented reality, or AR. If you've ever heard of Google Cardboard, that's a very simple way that we've created a tool to be able to use VR by creating a device from cardboard as well as pieces of glass. We've actually now expanded this to use this tool within education as well as advertising. And you'll also see different components of VR becoming more complex with different apps that are being developed by our developer community. So digital literacy has a very wide definition, but if you think back about how you as a student may have been using technology even in the last 5 to 10 years, you'll discover that new apps and new tools are being created on a daily basis. So if 5 years ago you were thinking about becoming a social media engineer, there may have been 5 less apps that existed back then than there are now. And for you to become a social media engineer now, you would have to understand human psychology, how people interact with their surroundings, how businesses react to communities, and understand all of that in order to be able to become a successful social media engineer. All of that comes together with being able to understand how information can be found and how it can be interpreted from the internet. Now, I'm sure you know from going through the internet that you can't always believe everything that you read on the internet. So part of the skills of digital literacy is being able to differentiate between things that are fact and things that come out as a result of people interacting on the internet itself. So I work with K-12 students or primary and secondary students, and we find it very important to not only teach students how to use the tools in their classes, but to also be able to interpret the information that they find effectively so that they can use that correctly in reports and in homework that teachers assign. Similarly, in the workplace, we also look to find people that can work in teams effectively and are able to collaborate, which is something that's very important within digital literacy itself, because being on the internet means that you're exposed to many different types of influences as well as people and different teams from around the world. So it's crucial not to just understand how to use the tools, but how they impact the way you interact with the world around you, whether you're in the workplace or in the classroom. So some of the things that can help to create better productivity is to utilize the tools that are cross-platform, meaning to say you can use it on your laptop or on your phone, and then complete your tasks whenever and wherever you may be. Now, one example of this are the apps that you may find in our G Suite of productivity apps. So I mentioned before, things like Google Drive, Docs, Slides, as well as spreadsheets. Now, all of these things are very common. I'm sure you've used them before in other classes as well. But the reason why these are very powerful tools to create better productivity is because they allow you to collaborate with other people in real time. So that means if you're working on a class project and you need somebody to be editing a document at the same time, that person can be working on the same document as you, and you can see the changes that are being made so that both of you can complete the task without having to wait for somebody else to do the same thing. There are also a lot of tools that allow for research within a document. For example, if you're using Google Drive, you can actually also create the documents within the drive itself, which means that you don't have to open up 3 different apps to do the same thing, as well as utilize other apps from within the Play Store and utilize those apps together in the drive itself. But the powerful thing is because all of these apps are available not only on your laptop but also on your mobile phone, it also means that you can create and also complete tasks regardless of where you are. These things are also available offline, so there's no excuse to not be doing it just because you don't have the internet. The Google for Education team worked with the Economist Research Group a few years ago to better understand what kind of skills employers are looking for when they're hiring new grads. So a very interesting thing that we found out was out of all of the skills and the things that these employers will look for, none of them said math or English or science. They were not subject specific. Things that they wanted to see was teamwork, the ability to collaborate, problem solving, and communication. So in the research that we did, the understanding was regardless of which industry you may be in, regardless of what kind of technology you may be learning, those are the things that are carried with you into any job that you work with, regardless of which industry you may be working in.